Hello, so I'm here with Sandy. How you doing, Sandy?
Very good, Brett. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you. Yeah, we've had a beautiful sunny weekend this weekend, so
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
all is good.
Oh, nice. We had rain, yeah, which is good. We really need rain here in California right now. But unfortunately, it happened in the middle of the baseball game we were trying to go to.
Typical.
Oh,
Fantastic. So, yeah, interesting topic for this week. I think for a change, it might be you doing a lot of the talking.
sure. Okay. That's
So,
fine with me.
yeah, tell us what you had as an idea for a topic. I believe it is social
Yeah,
squared related, right?
right. Yes. Yeah. So this month we're still rolling out the new release of Social Squared this month, and each month that we've been putting out new releases in 2021, we've been focusing on a particular industry segment. As so, I think the last time that well, I know the last time we did Social Squared, we focused on education and sector because we had a lot of customers who were coming to us, setting up classrooms in Social Squared. They're using Teams for their coursework, and they wanted students to be able to do discussions in Teams, but in a structured way. This month, our focus is technology, and we have a lot of customers who are using Social Squared not only that they're in a like an IT industry, but also they might be manufacturing or some other kind of industrial industry. We have like chemicals and pharmaceuticals and all sorts of customers like that, and what they use Social Squared for is to have sort of more technical forums where I know I've seen in a lot of cases where they're using some particular tools or equipment in their day-to-day work, and uh, people have questions about them, and so they are able to post topics in the forums. They've got forums broken down by the different pieces of equipment, or sometimes I've seen it like by the different version updates, and they can have people then post questions or report bugs or things like that. And the ability to post screenshots and videos and so on that relate to that topic that they're trying to ask a question about is really useful. And then the forums can be moderated by somebody who is a subject matter expert in that particular area or with that piece of equipment, and then they're the ones who are marked in the forums as the moderator, that they know what they're talking about, and then they can answer the questions. People can mark that as the answer, and then people can use that going forward. So I know that's been really useful. In fact, we just had a customer that migrated Social Squared from they've been a customer since, I think they joined about the time that I started, so since about 2012, and they've been using Social Squared ever since then in on-prem for technical discussions just like this. And they migrated to Social Squared and SharePoint Online, and wanted to migrate all that content because people are still using it. I mean, even that content that's 10 years old, they're still using that same equipment, but people need to go back to the forums and see, what was the resolution to this and that. So I would say that's just a uh, really big need for companies and another great use case for Social Squared.
Fantastic. And yeah, I think it's important to mention that we don't actually target any particular industry with our
Right.
products at all. It's yes, just you just see a trend with with certain types
Mhm.
of industry. I guess because it's a good fit for that type of industry, or maybe Microsoft 365, is more prevalent in some industries as well. I'm not sure, but there are certain sectors with certain products that it proves popular, and there isn't really anything to sort of truly say why. For example, DeliverPoint, that the permissions tool seems to be extremely popular with the automotive industry.
Mm.
There's a lot of large car manufacturers that use that product. But yes, the Social Squared, it does make sense to me about the educational sector, and
Mhm.
also I think this one here about the technology sector also makes sense because technology is one of those things that quite often you do get laymen with inside
Mm.
organizations that do have technical questions and they need answers for various reasons. And what one case that I came across recently was actually a technology company, and you actually had software engineers as the subject matter experts, again separating them across different forums and different forum groups so they could moderate them, but the questions were actually being asked generally by sales teams or technical sales teams. So when the customer comes to that organization with a need, they may not often know the answer to the question immediately, so they're reaching out to the software engineers, posting those questions in the forum, but that's the ideal place to put it rather than emailing them or calling them, because then it's getting captured, and that everybody will learn from that conversation. So yeah,
Right.
I think that makes sense that it should be used for that purpose, and I've seen it quite often during demonstrations, but I know you're perhaps more customer focused than I am, so there's probably a few stories like that you have, I would imagine.
Yeah, and things that are especially useful for that use case, I think, are like the tagging, so that then when people do want to come back to the forum and look for something, they can use the tag cloud and find information about that piece of equipment or that version number really easily. But one thing kind of building on to what you said about it not being targeted to any specific industry, and that's, I think, kudos to our developers that we've been able to make it flexible enough. It's a tool that can be used for whatever your organization needs it to do. Really, we've got it, and not only educational and technology, but also like communities of uh, like networking communities are using Social Squared, and that's for a conversation about nonprofits or whatever they're doing in their community, and just all kinds of across the board different sorts of use cases for structured forums. I mean, that's the key, really, huh?
Yeah, and I think one area that I guess is one that's cropped up a few times as a use case across different industries is actually employee onboarding. Because it's I guess similar to the gap that Microsoft has started to fill with Microsoft Viva is people have a lot of questions, and Microsoft Viva Topics is sort of touching on that as well, so that you can find answers to questions, or what does a certain acronym mean, or whatever it might be. But Social Squared is often used for that purpose as well, because no matter how well you are onboarded, there's only so much that you can take on board, through that sort of employee induction cycle, and there's going to be questions that you have. But if people that have been onboarded weeks before you, or months before you, or even years before you have had the same questions, then that's one place where you can go through and learn. And you can research those questions, or you can post those questions yourself. So yeah, totally makes sense for that as well.
Right. Yeah, you could have, I know we have quite a number of customers who have like a whole forum for HR. And so people can ask questions about benefits and insurance, and obviously not the confidential type of questions, but I mean, we've just added the post anonymously feature too. So yeah, people can ask a confidential question anonymously or be able to post feedback anonymously. So that helps for that too.
Yeah. And I think another one that's been very common during the pandemic is actually pharmaceuticals as well, and a lot of pharmaceuticals that are somewhat involved in COVID, where not just in vaccinations, but care and also in respiratory equipment and things like that. There's been a few use cases where it's being used for that purpose. To just, I guess, just like any other organization, they had people working remotely, and they needed a platform in order to be able to discuss, whatever they discuss with
Right.
with that in mind. So I'm sure there's perhaps been some quite lengthy discussions in the sort of pharmaceutical industry around the pandemic. So
Right. Yeah.
but that's also something that's come up as well over the last 12 months is remote working, and just people looking for a slightly better sort of multi-threaded discussion type tool, because whilst Teams is that by nature, it is a discussion tool, It's a communication tool, but it's not multi-threaded, and that's the one thing that we've found people looking for. I think we touched on that a couple of weeks ago. You can be in a conversation in WhatsApp, and then somebody just drops a bomb. It might just be a joke or something in the middle of your conversation, and you've ruined the flow. Whereas that can happen on that posts tab as well. Whereas if it's in a structured discussion forum, it's not likely to happen. Everything that goes in that thread is to do with that topic, and that's the ideal solution for that. So.
And even kind of focused on pandemic related things, not just because of pandemic, but you might also have forums about returning to work, or like policies that are in place in your office place now, and things like that you could have forums about. And again, that's one place for people to go and find the information and ask the questions and see that all organized.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, technology is certainly a big space, that industry. So it's an interesting one to watch out.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, and so we have an article especially about that, and I'll put a link in the description of this Lightning Tools chat video to get to that article.
Fantastic. Yeah, and if you want to navigate to it, then you'll find it under the products, and then look for Social Squared, and yeah, you'll find some links to some different sectors. So
right.
Sounds good.
Cool.
All right. Well, fantastic. I think next week we're going to be talking a little bit more about the data viewer, which we've spoken about how that can be used for reporting in Social Squared, but we also want to look at a few other use cases as well as to how that could be used with some of our other products and for different reasons.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, because you could, add it on to Social Squared, but then use it for other things too.
Exactly right. Fantastic.
All right, great.
Well, thanks very much, Sandy. It's good to see you again. And I look forward to the next show.
All right. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.